All right, let's jump in. So I've done a review of your website and I'm really curious to start with some basics. So what year was the Center for Mentoring Excellence founded? I saw, Lois, your book was published, your first book was in 2000, but I didn't know if this had started, the CME had started before that, after then, what year?
Well, the company had started as Leadership Development Services, LLC, and mentoring was one of the core competencies that came under the banner of Leadership Development Services. And that was actually in 1992, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And then when we became the Center for Mentoring Excellence, I think we got the trademark for that in 2005. Lisa, is that your recollection?
Yeah, I was sort of
You could go either way, I know.
I wasn't involved at that point, but
yeah,
you know, I was alive.
And kicking, I might add.
So 2005, and then did you rebrand from the Leadership Development Services to CME in 2005 as well?
Well, it's an interesting thing. It became, the Center for Mentoring Excellence became a division of Leadership Development Services. And then it became its own entity as it grew and multiplied.
And actually, Sarah, it still is a division of Leadership Development Services. We, when we started working with several global and governmental clients, we, did so through Leadership Development Services, LLC. And so it's still, that is still sort of the mothership, if you will, the pun.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. And then who founded CME? I'm assuming that's you, Lois, but I thought I would not assume.
Oh, don't assume it, but it is absolutely correct. I did found the Center for Mentoring Excellence, and that grew out of a belief that there's a higher standard of practice to which mentors and mentees can aspire, and that's called mentoring excellence.
Yep.
So any old mentoring does not do. You really have to be able to do it from a place of learning and also really treasuring and being willing to build and grow a relationship.
And Lois, can you, we call it, sometimes we call it our founder story, but can you talk to me about what you were doing in your career right before you started CME? It sounds like you were leading the Leadership Development Service, but talk to me about that moment, that inspiration moment of, I've got to create the Center for Mentoring Excellence.
Well, actually, I guess the inspiration moment was when I got into mentoring, because I have a doctorate from Columbia Teachers College in adult learning and development. And based on that, I really have always been fascinated with how adults learn. And I was invited to consult with a multinational company in the Midwest, and I went into that company, and I realized all of a sudden that mentoring was being done on a fairly pediatric basis or almost paternalistic basis, and I began to think, what would happen if we took what we know about how adults learn and marry that with mentoring? How might that elevate the practice?
Got it.
So,
and what insights of adult learning did you find mirrored so nicely with mentoring, or that you wanted to bring to mentoring?
Well, adults are partners in their own learning. So that was really important. The immediacy. Really, it is about being, I used the word partner before, but it's about being a full partner in learning. And it's not just sitting there and having somebody tell and sell you, but it's really getting in there and asking for what you need. But to go back to your question, so what was the time that
Yeah.
This whole inspiration for the Center for Mentoring Excellence. So we were doing an incredible amount of mentoring and going into organizations, but mentoring excellence wasn't being practiced. So the vision was creating a center where people don't come for the usual or for the template, but they really come for an experience, for a place where they could get resources and best practices, not only for their mentoring relationships, but for their programs and for the cultures of their organization.
Love it. That's awesome. So for the CME, one of the questions I wrote is sort of what is it? When I was reading through your website, and this is more of a messaging exercise, how would you describe it? It's not a physical location, but is it a digital platform? Is there any other way beyond the definition itself, Center for Mentoring Excellence, that you would describe it, that we could articulate?
Yeah. I'll take a stab, and then Mom, you can elaborate. So, we think of the center as a virtual center for resources, education, and data and information about mentoring excellence around the globe. And it's not meant to be brick and mortar open the doors, but it is meant to be a place where organizations can go to learn the best resources, the best practices, and to share their stories and receive coaching and education on how to achieve mentoring excellence.
Okay.
Anything you'd add?
No, I would say it's really, the practices, the principles, the theories that are in my book and the book that Lisa and I have just completed. It's really, how do we help individuals and organizations take and own and live those theories of best practice? Would you agree?
Yeah. Yep.
And what I just heard you say, that to me sounds like your mission of CME.
Yeah.
Would you describe it differently?
I think that's right.
That'd be it, right? Okay, great. I want to be able to say, CME is a virtual center to achieve X mission. The one word that I came up with after reading your website was, another option or words that came to my mind was a digital platform as well. To me, seems like, or digital, but I don't know how that.
I don't know that I would call it a digital platform, because we don't really deliver what we do digitally. I mean, it's more of a virtual center. Certainly the website is digital.
Yep.
And as we progress, we're offering more and more virtual training. But I usually think of a digital platform as without the human touch. And what we do really has much more of a face-to-face whether it's a virtual face-to-face or actual in the same room face-to-face delivery. It's really about customized solutions. And in fact, the delivery does not happen through the center. It happens through the client's resources. So either it happens on site at the client, or if the client is delivering a virtual solution, it happens through the client's platforms. But we don't offer a platform.
Makes sense.
I would say Lisa was talking about delivery. All of our work is really customized. What we believe is that there has to be an integration, there has to be a synergy between the mentoring program and the organizational culture.
Yep.
So we really become students of an organization's culture. And it may be they come to our, quote, platform in that sense to learn about us, to get access to different things that we do, our newsletter, tips. but I think that what's really important is just the customization of this. And what I mean by customization is we also want to help clients and organizations deliver. We want to give them the tools so that they can also deliver this and do this in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the participants, but we also work with program managers to help elevate their learning and to help them continue to be ever more successful.
Right.
I think the other piece I think that links that, Sarah, is we're creating both the organizational and the individual competency in mentoring.
Great.
So that it's not, what you're doing through Tribute is creating the digital platform for mentorship. What we're doing is creating the competency to use that digital platform to its fullest.
Right. And that's why I need you.
And vice versa, right? So it's it's not, although certainly our content is something that is scalable, it's not delivered in a way that is, you get in pieces. You learn the competency so that you can execute and create meaningful relationships.
Right. Yeah, I wonder then if Virtual Center doesn't describe you well enough, because you've got this whole consulting arm, this coaching practice, this deep integration into companies to be able to help them help themselves. I just wonder, and maybe Center of Excellence is, the word Center of Excellence or words are often described to in of themselves as the definition. I'm just trying to think when I was typing out your, the Center for Mentoring Excellence was founded in 2005 by Dr. Lois Zachary to do this mission by doing this. The CME is Virtual Center doesn't feel enough. So I might think on that and propose some other thoughts.
Okay, great.
So I want to make sure we're capturing all of what you do. Okay. Looking on my list here. Okay, so we talked about your mission. And I think what I just heard, another one of the questions was, how do you achieve that mission? And it sounds to me that's by, Lisa, what you said is by giving organizations and individuals that competency for mentorship.
Yeah.
And that can be through content, through coaching, through, observing, right?
And I would say, the simple way to describe it is we do it through, facilitation, coaching, training, and consultation to ensure that mentors, mentees, program administrators, and organizations understand, what would you say, the various, facets of mentoring and how to ensure excellence throughout the process.
I think, and that's really critical, because people will bring us in or want to have mentoring, and the program manager may have one definition of it. The CEO may have another definition of it. And it's important to bring people on the same page, because one of the things we know is that the term mentoring is used promiscuously. People use it as a Band-Aid for lots of different things. And so it's important, if you don't have everybody on the same page as to what mentoring is, you can hardly expect them to be on the same page when it comes to mentoring excellence, and certainly when it comes to measuring program results and measuring learning and development outcomes.
Yeah.
Right.
It also, go ahead, Sarah.
What I wrote down was establish a common framework is what I heard. And I remember even at Microsoft in my own career, when we were moving into this period of digital transformation and we were building all of these new systems, tools, that was the first piece of work we had to do, was to get everybody on the same vocabulary, the same framework. When I say this, I mean this, and I remember going to Serious Decisions, which is a B2B organizational research firm. I remember going to a session, and that was the entire session. They said the number one thing you can do to drive organizational change is to establish that common framework in vocabulary and in understanding. So I think that to me sounds like what you know, the first step in changing an organizational culture to have excellence in mentoring is to establish that framework.
The other piece that I don't know, that I'd like to emphasize when we talk about who we are, is that we are experts and thought leaders in mentoring. And, you know, certainly we have all sorts of resources for people, but I think where we really add the most value is when we are helping clients problem solve about how to devise durable, customized solutions for them to achieve mentoring excellence.
Lisa, I think you actually defined who you are, like just in saying that, rather than being a virtual center. You're a team of experts and thought leaders, right, that do these things, right, that are on this mission to increase organizational and individual competency around mentorship because of, you know, XYZ. That's way more powerful because, yeah, experts and thought leaders, you can deploy that in multiple channels, whether that's virtually, in person, depth engagements, breadth engagements. And I think that that's what actually powers the Center of Excellence, is that thought leadership and that expertise, right? Yeah. Any other thoughts on that question before I continue? 25 minutes, I think we're doing good on time.
Mama, anything else?
I think I appreciate your perspective. It's always nice to hear from the outside what people think looking in, as opposed to us looking out and thinking about what people want to hear.
Right, and we're so mired in our own stuff.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, I understand that, and have been extremely appreciative of Lisa to bring that outside perspective, you know, back to me. All right, Lisa, tactical question. When did you take over as CEO?
So I joined the Center for Mentoring Excellence in 2016, I think full-time in 2016, part-time in 2015, and then I took over as CEO on January 1st of 2018.
Okay. That's right. We learned that when we went to Kate's class. So I started Tribute in January of 2018. So I guess the universe wanted us to start moving in that direction to meet. And we also have interesting things like what we're both left-handed. We both lived in Chicago. Anyway, I'm actually from Chicago. That's where I born and raised. Okay, Lois, this is a question for you. And
okay.
So I wrote down, I want you to talk to me about what it feels like to have your daughter, Lisa, carry on your legacy and follow in your footsteps.
Can you see the tears in my eyes?
I'm like, grab the tissues.
And if I wasn't, yes, and I have to say, my heart swells just with the joy of it. It's really, I feel very proud that we've been able to build a legacy, and this is something that Lisa is really passionate about. I'm so proud of what she's doing, of how she's thinking, and I can't imagine, but I can on one level, where she's going to take this company and the direction that it's going to go and the impact, because she's already having the company through Lisa is already having an international impact. And when I talk to people whom I know, who have heard her at a conference, they're always saying, wow, she really hit a home run. She did, she's so smart. What can I say? The tears are there. I'd say I'm sticking my chest way out, but it's out anyhow. But I'm so proud of her, and I'm so thrilled that it's so meaningful to her.
Yeah. Lois, I have another question. If Lisa wasn't your daughter, what advice would you give her as the CEO of the company that you founded? Knowing how you started it, what's the best advice you would give? Let's say Lisa's just someone you met and she's, taking over the
Be,
company you founded.
be your authentic self. Be curious about the subject matter.
Mhm.
Don't just do the do. Be invested and think about your own growth and develop. Never be satisfied with just being good enough.
I love it. I love it. All right, Lisa, it's your turn. So I want you to talk to me about your mom, and I want to hear about the impact she's had on your career and your choice to, I know you started as a lawyer and kind of found yourself accidentally in this, but, love to know the impact she's had on your career. And ultimately, why did you say yes to taking over as the CEO of CME?
So, I came to this really circuitously, and I think if you had asked either of us 10 years ago if we would be in this place, the answer probably would be no. Not because of lack of desire, but it just seemed to point in different directions. 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years ago, I left the practice of law. I was in a very different place. I didn't know, soon thereafter, I moved into the realm of diversity and inclusion, which eventually kind of led back here. But that certainly wasn't something that was anticipated. And I think once I, fell in love with the importance of inclusion in the workplace, of helping to create a workplace where people really feel valued. When I actually hired my mother to come in and do a mentoring program for our women's group, and I really began to see that inclusion happens in individual relationships much faster, much more effectively, much more durably with one-on-one relationships, and that the learning was there, that I realized that there was a great synergy. It was my good fortune that it was my mother. I, certainly followed her career, but I never and paid attention to it, but I learned to pay attention to it in a very different way when I became passionate about the subject matter. I remember we went to a couple conferences, but the first time I went to a conference without her, she had to radio in, or videotape in, right, her keynote address. And I did a question and answer afterwards. And the line, when the video stopped rolling, there were probably 24 people who were waiting in a line to talk to me. Not because I did anything. All I did was facilitate questions. I really did nothing. But they were there to tell me about the impact of my mom's work on their career and their life, and how they read her books, and it had really made a difference in their practice and in their organization. And the number of people who believe that she is their mentor, many actually are, but some it's wishful thinking. But actually are, but I say that only to say that the influence on their life has really been fantastic. This is not answering your question, but
no, I love it.
It is getting there. So it's a great feeling. It's something that I'm super passionate about, and I'm not sure how we got to this place, but I think sometimes the best things happen because they happen. It's not an accident, but it's certainly a product of a lot of little decisions along the way. What do I say? Gradually, and then suddenly. That sort of thing.
Yep. And Lisa, there's another question for you. So, sorry, I got a little loud in the background. How do you want to carry CME's mission forward from here?
Yeah.
What does that look for you?
Yeah, I think building the competency of mentoring, what I've seen from working with my mother and working at the Center for Mentoring Excellence, is the surprise and delight of a structured mentoring relationship on leaders who thought that they knew it all along, that winging it was the way to go, and just caring about somebody was enough to get there. When they see the delta between good management and good mentoring, or being a leader who does leading, who does, or leader who mentors, I think that's the exciting piece to me, and helping leaders and organizations see the importance of that and translate that into creating more inclusive work environments is what really excites me. I think where we are right now, both from writing our book and from sort of an interest level, is this intersection of creating an inclusive culture and creating a mentoring culture, and that one enables the other. And that in order to really create change, you have to be creating both.
I love it. I love it. So I kind of heard, we started as this Center for Mentoring Excellence, and we want to advance and expand that to sort of inclusion excellence, if you will.
I would say inclusion through mentoring excellence. I mean,
Yep.
I believe that it's important. It's not inclusion excellence per se, because I think that there are people who do diversity and inclusion work, and that's
very different
great work, and it's different.
Okay.
And I don't think that programmatic work through D&I is enough. I think that it is creating meaningful individual relationships in the work context that are centered around learning and development that will create an inclusive workplace.
Beyond books, the training, the coaching, any other business channels you think CME will take a hold or a life in through?
TBD.
Tribute. Sorry.
I'm
couching. I'm kidding.
No, I think that I am really excited about the partnership with Tribute, because I think that as we look to scale mentoring excellence through big organizations, the work that we've done in the past has been through smaller mentoring cohorts that has created an amazing sense of community, and I think that's still really important work. But when you're looking to get into these super large multinational organizations, using the power of story and the platform that Tribute has to help people find mentors, both in formal and informal channels, is going to make a huge difference. And it's going to be able to magnify the impact in a way that doesn't just say, all right, go folks and mentor, right? And you're on your own, but adds the discipline and the structure of mentoring in a way that's really scalable.
I love it. Any other ways or thoughts? Let's 10 years out from today, what does CME look like, feel like? Are you jet setting all over the world and speaking at conferences, and you have 100-person company? Is it
I don't know. I'm big on visioning, and I think it's really important. And 10 years is an eternity. When I think about that, I don't know what the world is going to look like.
And yet it's a nanosecond.
And yet it's a nanosecond. I think I'd like to be doing more speaking. I would like to be building a talented, diverse, skilled group of facilitators who can go out and increase the impact of this work. I would like to stay involved in my community, spend time with my family, which is really important to me, and pay it forward by doing more volunteer and board work as well, and managing that in the mentoring context. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I don't need to be Oprah, because there's already one. And I don't know that my visions are that grand, but I feel like as long as we're magnifying the impact and creating the competency in a larger way, it'll be a success.
Got it. I love it. This wasn't a question I wrote down, but I was thinking of this as I've been listening along. So I looked at your client list on your website, by the way, and it's really, really long, like hundreds of clients, and big name clients that you guys have worked with. Like, I can only aspire one day to have a list like that on Tribute's website. Sorry, got a little loud. Curious, and this may be more for both of you, but we'll start with Lois. Um, what is the greatest learning that you've had across all of your engagements? What are some themes that sort of showed up for you that here's how CME and
Whoops, we
understand that
lost you.
culture?
I accidentally muted you. So say, see, here's how CME,
Oh,
ask your question again.
so the question is sort of what of all the hundreds of clients that you guys have worked with, what are a couple common themes that sort of emerged that you think CME really was able to diagnose and address within an organizations and leave them in a better place than when you found them? I mean, we talked a little bit about common frameworks, educate on best practices, but I didn't know if there was any other common themes across your collective experience.
I have a number of thoughts.
Okay.
One is that it's not enough to come in and do a training or to do a consult. People need support along the way. And it's not just supporting the program manager. It's not just supporting the program committee. It's also supporting your mentors and mentees to help them be as successful as they can be. So that there's a piece of coaching that's involved there as well. Another lesson is that people often have the answers within themselves. They just don't know that they have. And as a consultant, as a coach, as a facilitator, it's about asking the right questions so that people can summon those answers, can discover those answers, can own those answers for themselves. So to hear people say, oh, I never thought about that before. You know, you use the phrase thought leader. One of the things you do as a thought leader is to stimulate thoughts in other people and help them get new insights. So I think that one of the things we have to do is we have to listen. Very often, just by paraphrasing and feeding back what we've heard, that helps people go the next step as well. But we have to be, we have to ask good questions. And we have to create a situation in which the company or the organization that brings us this, they own the process. We often say, we're the experts, we're the thought leaders, but you have the expertise in your organization. And it's really the marriage of their knowledge of the expertise of the organization and our expertise that really helps a program be successful.
Sort of the merge of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Lois, what are your thoughts about, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, Lisa, I'll let you.
No, I was just going to say, I think the one thing that I see in common, you know, that makes me feel like what we're doing is having an impact and is successful is that we hear over and over again mentors in the organization say, I'm looking at things differently now. I'm learning something. I'm reevaluating how I do things or how our organization does it. You know, to me, that expanded perspective by mentors is as exciting as the expanded perspective by mentees, because then you know you're starting to create organizational change.
So to just throw in a word here, Lisa and I, in the book that we've just written, we talk about leveraging learning. And I think that's, it's not about closing out your relationship or the program. It's how do you take what you've learned as an organization, as mentoring pairs, and how do you leverage it? How do you use it? How do you apply it? How do you continue to grow it?
I love it. All right, I've got 6 minutes with you guys left. I want to be thoughtful of time. So I did want to ask you, this is more of a tactical question, but how would you like to leave your managing director? Her name is Lori? Lori and Michelle, how do you want to weave them into your story? I see today and About Us, you have individual profiles of people. So kind of just talk to me about your thoughts. How do we weave them into your history? Is it, oh, and then at this point we brought this person on and she brought these capabilities? Or do you two really want this to be the history of your family legacy?
I would say let's focus on the two of us. What I will say is we're really proud of the team we have.
Okay.
Our associate director, Lori Fischler, has deep skill and knowledge. She's an excellent coach. Her ability in instructional design and delivery is fantastic. And she cares about clients in a way that makes us really proud that she's associated with us. And Michelle Hancock, who's our administrative support, is responsive, creative, brings good humor and a fresh perspective to what we deliver, and we're thrilled to have her on our team. And as we look to build our team, we, we're in the process of adding, several facilitators. Two new facilitators are Patrice Bell, who comes from Boeing, and Kunur Bihal, who has a deep expertise in design thinking, as well as improv training, which really brings a new level of creativity to our facilitation, as well as new members of the team. So as we look to expand our team, the idea is to bring diverse thinking to our clients to help build on the excellence that we have and make sure that our team is continuing in the tradition that Lois has built of bringing the best to our clients.
Okay, great. So I can just kind of make a little statement of, really proud of the team, doing great work, that kind of thing. I didn't want to leave them out if they were a core part. All right. So I think that is, and I guess if you want me to end your history, I also noticed that each of your profiles had a link to an article, a most recent article. So I didn't know if you wanted me at the end of the profile to link to your latest book.
Yes, but we don't have it yet. So I mean,
figured,
yeah. So I think what we'll
When
do, when it comes, is we'll have that added to the profile. But we are still in final edit mode, or pre-final edit mode, as the case may be.
Sure, I can't wait to read it. I cannot wait.
Me neither.
Mom, anything else that you would want to see featured on something like this?
Do you want to have some quotes from clients?
Yeah, elsewhere.
Elsewhere, okay.
Yeah, I want people who are reading it to get a sense of you and the story. And I love the family legacy kind of, even if it's accidental, accidentally on purpose is a term I'm using a lot these days. So I kind of want people to get a sense for you and just how excellent you both are in your own domains, and how this is coming together at a time in our history where you and your services are so needed. I mean, I'm at this Idea Gen conference today, and the entire theme of the conference is accelerating diversity and inclusion, and actually working with the UN to get a measure on their ballot or forum that actually drives economic investment by countries all over the world to be able to power that. So that's sort of my vision of what this looks like, is how do you take I mean, you guys have been doing this since the dawn of time, you know what I mean? And now the world is sort of catching up and saying, wow, this is really important, and we need this kind of competency and excellence in every organization. So
yeah, before it used to be, it would be nice, it's a fad, this company's doing it, let's try it. But it wasn't part of a strategic vision. It really wasn't part of growing people. We used to be in an age of putting on programs. And now we know that if we don't grow our people, we don't grow our companies. If we don't change, if our people don't change and have the capacity to do that, then our companies miss that competency.
Yep. Yeah, Lindsay Ray today, she said it's what started out as a compliance, checking of the box is now arguably the most strategic initiative that we can undertake in our companies today, and kind of watching that transformation. And you've been at the forefront of that.
It's exciting.
The entire time.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see it become an urgency and not just a nice to have.
Yeah.
I think the other difference too, Lisa, is that it used to be a one kind of thing. It was an older person and a younger person, or used to be one person and another person. Now we have virtual. Now we have multiple mentoring. Now we had quad mentoring. There's so many different types of mentoring. We have companies mentoring companies.
It's true.
Right.
Co-mentoring
I love that point. That's a really, really great point. Just how mentorship itself has evolved.
Right.
Right. And the excellence that has to go along with that sort of evolution, is different. It's, that needs to evolve along with it.
Yes. Sarah,
Sounds
thank
like
you so much. I actually have to go drive carpool home from the high school in the world of balance and purposing our day, but integrating our day. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see how this goes. And
yeah, send me the recording when you get a chance, and I'll spend some time with it. I'll draft something and send it back to you. And Lois, I hope to get to meet you someday in person.
I want to say I'm so delighted. Lisa's spoken so highly of you, and I understand now the energy and the enthusiasm, and you're just a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me tell your story. So,
talk soon.
all right. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.